Montana Television Network. This is the noon news from Montana's news leader.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much for starting your week with us. I'm Aja Goare. Our top story today, President Trump is wrapping up his overseas trip to Asia with perhaps his most controversial stop. He's in the Philippines, meeting with President Rodrigo Duterte, who is often criticized by human rights activists for leading a bloody war on drugs. CBS's Stephen Portnoy reports.
Protesters gathered in the streets of Manila, burning signs depicting President Trump, while at times clashing with police using water cannon. Those demonstrations held as President Trump met with world leaders at the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit. Among the president's meetings, a controversial one with the summit's host, Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte.
Rodrigo, thank you very much for the way you treated all of us.
But human rights groups accuse Duterte of overseeing a bloody drug war. They say he's behind the killings of thousands of drug dealers and drug users. And Duterte tells reporters Mr. Trump has praised his strategy.
And he said something about, you handle it very well.
The White House says human rights vis-a-vis the drug war did come up briefly during the meeting, but Mr. Trump ignored questions about that.
We've had a great relationship. This has been very successful.
Earlier in the day, President Trump met with his counterparts from Japan and Australia. He said the focus of their meeting was the same as the focus of the entire trip, which he says he'll expound on Wednesday at the White House.
And it'll be a very complete statement as to trade, as to North Korea, as to a lot of other things.
On trade, the president calls this a very fruitful trip. He boasts of nearly $300 billion in new sales for U.S. manufacturers. The president appears to be counting non-binding agreements for potential future deals, along with some signed contracts that had been previously announced. Stephen Portnoy, CBS News, with the president in Manila.
Meanwhile, Alabama Republican Roy Moore says he plans to sue the Washington Post after the newspaper reported allegations of sexual contact with a 14-year-old girl. Those accusations stem from 4 decades ago. Moore is facing pressure to withdraw from the state Senate race just 1 month before Election Day. Moore met with supporters this weekend and called the allegations fake news. Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell now says he believes the woman and thinks Moore should drop out. Here in Montana, a trial begins today in Great Falls for the man accused of killing his wife last year. Roy Edward Scott is on trial in Cascade County District Court for the murder of his wife, Stephanie Wells. If the jury finds Scott responsible for his wife's death, they can convict him of deliberate or negligent homicide. An autopsy revealed Wells died from blunt force trauma and compression of the neck. Scott told authorities he and his wife had been drinking at the bar before they got home and began to fight. That altercation turned physical before Wells allegedly began hitting her husband. Scott claimed he bear-hugged Wells, which led to her death. Butte police arrested a woman for allegedly firing a gun inside a bar this weekend. That shooting happened early Sunday morning at the Acoma Lounge on Broadway. No one was injured. Bar staff and police detained a 31-year-old woman. She has not been charged. The incident does remain under investigation. The identity of a Teton County man killed in a farming accident west of Fairfield this weekend is now released. The Teton County Undersheriff says 61-year-old Martin Wild died Saturday. The incident happened at the intersection of Highway 408 and 287. We're told Wild was attempting to load an open-faced tractor with a farm implement attached onto a trailer. The tractor then tipped off of the trailer and landed on Wild, causing blunt force trauma to his chest. Opening weekend at Great Divide Ski Resort northwest of Helena drew a big crowd. Saturday's opening day was the earliest start to the season in 68 years. 1,100 powder hounds hit the slopes. 60 of the resort's 1,200 acres are open. We turn now to the weather scene with Ed McIntosh, and that's the good side of the storm, but how about the bad side?
Yeah, we're getting more snow, more rain on the way. The really bad part is always wind, and we're going to have some of that too. Let's take a look with what's going on. As we start watching showers moving into northwest Montana through the rest of today, that turns to some higher elevation snow and scatters across the region. By this time tomorrow, we can start to look at some decent accumulations, especially in the west-facing slopes of the mountains, and some difficult travel in central and western Montana. And a few showers will also persist across the plains. Winds already increasing down the east slopes of the Rockies also pick up. Here we'll take this out to about 5 a.m. tomorrow, and areas north of Great Falls could see wind gusts of 60 to 70 miles an hour. A closer look at the weather coming up.
Thanks, Ed. We'll stay tuned. A Bozeman man carries the namesake of Montana artist Charles Russell. As MTN's Kenneth Webb explains, the man's connection to the artist doesn't stop with his name.
Well, as a teenager, my mother and her sister and her mother were neighbors of the Russells. They lived about in the same location as the museum is now located. And as a teenager, she became their house girl.
Charlie Russell Soha's mother, Martha Gabrielson Soha, born 1904, was Nancy and C.M. Russell's house girl from 1917 to 1923.
She did spend 2 or 3 summers with them up at Lake McDonald. And I have a picture of my mother standing next to Charlie when they were swimming in that cold, cold water of Lake McDonald.
After C.M. Russell passed away in 1926, Nancy Russell lived in California, where Martha Soha would visit occasionally with her daughter.
My sister and my mother did make a trip to California in about 1938 to visit Nancy, and they did spend a week or 2 with Nancy while she was still alive. She passed away in 1940.
Charlie Soha was too young to appreciate what his mother, Martha, did and told him, which is why he regrets that to this day.
I was interested, but at the same time, I was too young, really, to appreciate the fact that she had this experience. Otherwise, I would have made more of an effort to hear more of those stories or to even write them down. And I regret that I didn't do that. And being their house girl, had she just taken things out of the wastebasket that Charlie discarded, that would have meant quite a bit. Of course, she didn't understand to do that at the time.
Even though Charlie Russell Soha was too young to hear those stories, his mom said, he carries with him Charlie Russell's name that his mother gave him.
I understood, or I knew, that I was named for a very famous individual.
Reporting from Bozeman, Kenneth Webb, MTN News.
An interesting piece of history there. Thank you, Kenneth. And a PBS special airs on Charles Russell this week. Still ahead on the noon news, the death toll rises dramatically after a major earthquake in the Middle East. We have the details from the scene next. But first, Ed has our snowy weather forecast. Stay with us.
You're watching MTN News with Aja Goare. Storm